This is Max and Mia podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Max and Mia podcast. I'm Max.
And I'm Mia. It's brilliant to have you here with us today.
You know, we've been blown away by the response we've been getting lately. Seriously, your messages and comments have been absolutely phenomenal.
Couldn't agree more. It's what keeps us going, honestly. Knowing that you're out there tuning in, whether you're commuting to work, hitting the gym, or just chilling at home, it means the world to us.
Speaking of which, if you're enjoying what we do here, we'd genuinely appreciate it if you could smash that like button. And hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for?
Right. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. We drop new content regularly, and trust me, you won't want to be left out of the loop.
And don't be shy, drop us a comment down below. Let us know what's on your mind, suggest topics you'd like us to tackle, or just say hi. We actually read every single one.
We really do. Your feedback shapes what we talk about, so you're basically part of the team at this point.
All right then, shall we dive into today's topic?
Actually, hold on a sec. Before we get into the main discussion, we've got a little something for you.
Oh right, yeah, we're bringing back our vocabulary booster segment. For those of you who've been with us for a while, you know the drill.
For our newcomers, here's how it works. We're going to show you a brief video clip. We're talking just a few seconds here, and our challenge is to describe absolutely everything we're seeing in as much detail as possible.
It's a fantastic exercise for expanding your descriptive vocabulary and sharpening your observational skills. The goal is to paint a picture with words, you know?
Exactly. And if you're just listening to the audio version while driving or whatever, don't worry at all. Once we've watched it, we'll break down every single detail so you can visualize the whole scene in your mind.
Right. So get ready to really focus on what's happening. Try describing it yourself first if you're watching, then see how your description compares to ours.
Okay, let's roll the clip. Here we go.
Wow, okay, that was quite striking, wasn't it? All right, let me dive in. So, straight away, we're looking at what appears to be an abandoned or partially demolished building. Could be a house, maybe an old shop or warehouse. It's definitely seen better days.
Yeah, the whole place screams neglect. The floor is absolutely covered in dust and grime. Layers of it, really. You can tell nobody's set foot in there for ages, or at least not to maintain it.
And the walls, they're riddled with graffiti and these dark stains, probably water damage or mold creeping through. It gives the space this really eerie, desolate vibe.
What really caught my eye was the ceiling, or rather, the lack of it in some parts. There's a massive section that's caved in or collapsed entirely, and because of that, sunlight is just flooding in from above.
Right, which creates this odd contrast. The place is bathed in natural light. Quite bright, actually, yet it's completely dilapidated. It's almost surreal, that juxtaposition.
Absolutely. And here's something fascinating. Amongst all the rubble and debris, you can actually see vegetation starting to take root. Little plants and weeds pushing through the cracks. Nature reclaiming the space, essentially.
That really hammers home how long this place has been left untouched. We're talking months, maybe even years of abandonment for greenery to start sprouting like that.
Now, in the midst of all this chaos, there's a woman. She's moving through the space, And from what we can see, she seems to be either tidying up, inspecting the damage, or perhaps assessing what can be salvaged.
Her body language suggests she's quite focused, methodical even. Maybe she's a new owner, trying to gauge the extent of the renovation work needed, or possibly someone returning to a place that holds significance for her.
It's hard to say definitively, but there's definitely intention behind her movements. She's not just wandering aimlessly.
So, for those of you just listening, imagine a woman in a rundown, partially roofless building with graffiti-covered walls, dust everywhere, sunlight streaming through the gaps above, and wild plants beginning to reclaim the space. She's there, carefully examining or cleaning up her surroundings.
Now, why are we making you do this exercise? Well, this kind of descriptive practice is absolutely crucial. In everyday English conversations, people constantly ask you to describe situations, whether it's explaining what happened at work, recounting an event, or telling a story.
Exactly. And if you want to be a compelling storyteller or communicator, you need to master the art of painting vivid pictures with your words. It's not enough to say, "the place was messy." You need those specific details, that rich vocabulary we just used.
Desolate, dilapidated, juxtaposition, reclaiming. These aren't just fancy words for the sake of it. They convey precise meanings and help your listener truly visualize and connect with what you're describing.
So keep practicing this. Next time you're watching something, a film, a video online, even just looking out the window, challenge yourself to describe it in as much detail as possible. You'll be amazed at how quickly your fluency improves.
Right then, with that out of the way, let's get into today's main topic.
So today we're tackling something that honestly comes up all the time, both in professional settings and in our personal lives, the art of giving feedback.
Oh, this is such a crucial skill. And I think it's one of those things that people really struggle with, especially if English isn't your first language. There's so much nuance involved.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. Whether you're managing a team at work, helping a friend improve at something, or even just discussing a project with colleagues, you're constantly in situations where you need to offer your perspective on someone's performance or ideas.
And here's the thing. Done well, feedback can be incredibly empowering. It helps people grow, build stronger relationships, and creates this culture of continuous improvement. But done poorly, it can be demotivating, damaging, and just plain awkward.
Exactly. And the tricky bit is that different cultures have wildly different approaches to feedback. What's considered direct and helpful in one culture might come across as harsh or rude in another.
Right. So learning how to navigate this in English, particularly in international or multicultural environments, is absolutely essential. You need to strike that balance between being honest and being tactful.
Now, before we dive into a real conversation about giving feedback, let's arm you with some key vocabulary that'll help you follow along and, more importantly, use in your own feedback conversations.
Good shout. First up, we've got constructive criticism. Max, want to take this one?
Sure. So, constructive criticism is feedback that's designed to help someone improve, rather than just pointing out what's wrong. The key word here is constructive. It's meant to build up, not tear down. You're offering specific suggestions for improvement alongside any concerns you raise.
Great. So, for example, instead of saying, "Your presentation was boring," Constructive criticism would be something like, "Your content was solid, but I think varying your tone and adding some visuals would really engage the audience more."
See the difference? You're being honest about what needs work, but you're also providing a clear path forward. That's constructive criticism in action.
Brilliant. Next, we have point out. This is a phrasal verb that simply means to draw attention to something or to highlight it, usually something that needs to be noticed or addressed.
Right. You might say, "I'd like to point out that the deadline for this project has been moved up by a week." Or, "Can I point out a small error in your calculations here?"
It's quite neutral. You can point out both positive and negative things. For example, "I just wanted to point out how well you handled that difficult client yesterday."
Good example. And finally, we've got praise. This one's pretty straightforward. It means to express approval or admiration for someone or something. Basically, you're highlighting what someone did well.
And praise is such an important part of giving feedback. It's not all about pointing out areas for improvement. When you balance your feedback with genuine praise, people are far more receptive to the constructive bits.
Exactly. So you might say, "I really want to praise you for how proactive you've been with this project." Or, "She deserves praise for the way she turned that situation around."
And here's a pro tip. Specific praise is always more meaningful than vague praise. Don't just say "good job." Say, "I was really impressed by how you anticipated that problem and had a solution ready."
Spot on. All right, so we've got our vocabulary sorted. Constructive criticism, point out, and praise. Keep those in mind as we listen to this next bit.
Right. So what we're going to do now is play you a short audio clip. It's a conversation between a teacher and a student discussing a recent assignment. Listen carefully to how the teacher delivers feedback. Notice the language choices, the tone, and how they balance the positive with areas for improvement.
Then we'll break down the key moments afterward. Here we go.
Hi, Emma. Thanks for coming to see me. Have a seat. So, I wanted to have a chat with you about your essay on climate policy that you submitted last week.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if it was what you were looking for, to be honest. I spent quite a bit of time on it, but I know it probably wasn't my best work.
Well, let me start by saying there were definitely some strong elements to it. I want to praise you for the depth of research you put in. Your bibliography was extensive, and it's clear you consulted a wide range of sources. That's exactly what we're looking for at this level.
Thank you. That's good to hear. I did try to cover different perspectives on the topic.
And that showed. Your introduction laid out the key debates really effectively. However, I do want to point out a few areas where I think you can push yourself further. Does that sound all right?
Yes, of course. I actually expected there'd be things to work on.
Good attitude. So, one thing I noticed throughout the essay is that while you presented various viewpoints, you didn't really take a stance of your own. You were reporting what others said, but your own analysis was a bit thin on the ground. For an argumentative essay, we need to see more of your critical thinking. What do you believe and why?
Right, I see what you mean. I think I was worried about being too opinionable, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't want to come across as biased.
I understand that concern, and it's actually quite common. But there's a difference between being biased and making a well-reasoned argument. The whole point of this assignment is for you to develop and defend a position using evidence. You've gathered all of his brilliant research. Now you need to synthesize it and use it to support your own thesis.
That makes sense. So I should have been clearer about where I stand from the beginning.
Exactly. Your thesis statement should be assertive and specific. Instead of saying there are various approaches to climate policy, you might say something like, carbon taxation, despite its political challenges, remains the most effective mechanism for reducing emissions because, and then you build your case from there.
Okay, I can see how that would give the essay more direction. What else should I be thinking about?
Well, I also want to point out some issues with paragraph structure. Some of your paragraphs were running quite long, almost a full page in some cases. Each paragraph really should focus on one main idea with supporting evidence, then transition smoothly to the next point. When they get too lengthy, the reader loses track of your argument.
Yeah, I did notice that when I was proofreading, but I wasn't sure how to break them up without it feeling choppy.
It's a skill that develops with practice. Try this. After you write a paragraph, read it back and ask yourself, what's the one key point I'm making here? If you can identify 2 or 3 different points, that's a sign you need to split it up. Use topic sentences to guide your reader through your logic.
That's really helpful. Thank you. I'll definitely keep that in mind for the next one.
And just to circle back to the positives, because I don't want you leaving here feeling discouraged, your writing style itself is quite sophisticated. Your sentences are well constructed, and you've got a good grasp of academic tone. You're not using informal language or oversimplifying complex ideas, which is brilliant.
I appreciate that. So it's more about the structure and the argument itself rather than the actual writing?
Precisely. You've got the technical skills down. Now it's about sharpening your analytical edge and organizing your thoughts more strategically. These are things that come with practice, and honestly, you're already ahead of many students at your stage.
Okay, that actually makes me feel better. I think I was putting too much pressure on myself to get everything perfect on the first attempt.
Understandable, but remember, revision is where the real learning happens. In fact, I'd like to offer you the opportunity to revise this essay and resubmit it. You'd keep your original mark, but if you implement this constructive criticism, you could potentially raise it. What do you think?
Really? That would be amazing. Thank you so much. I'd definitely like to take another crack at it.
Wonderful. I'll give you 2 weeks, which should be plenty of time, and if you want to run a draft by me before you submit, just pop by during office hours.
I will. Thank you. This has been really useful.
My pleasure, Emma. You're clearly capable of excellent work. You just need to trust yourself a bit more and let your own voice come through.
Right, so that was a textbook example of effective feedback, wasn't it? There's so much we can unpack there.
Absolutely. First thing that struck me was how the teacher opened with praise straight away. I want to praise you for the depth of research. She didn't make Emma sit there anxiously waiting for the criticism. She established a positive tone from the outset.
Exactly, and that's strategic. When you lead with something positive, the person receiving feedback is far more likely to be receptive to the tougher points that follow. Their defenses aren't up.
And notice how specific that praise was? He didn't just say good work. He pointed out the extensive bibliography and the range of sources. That specificity makes the compliment feel genuine and earned.
Right. Then, when he transitioned to the constructive criticism, he actually asked permission first. I do need to point out a few areas where I think you can push yourself further. Does that sound all right? That's brilliant, because it invites collaboration rather than imposing judgment.
I loved that bit. And Emma's response, I actually expected there'd be things to work on. Show she was already in the right mindset. But even if she hadn't been, that gentle lead-in would have helped.
Now, the feedback itself was incredibly constructive. He didn't just say, your analysis is weak. He explained what was missing, Emma's own critical stance, and why it mattered. Then she provided concrete guidance on how to fix it.
And she validated Emma's concern about sounding biased. Rather than dismissing it, she acknowledged it was a common worry and then clarified the distinction between bias and reasoned argument. That's empathetic teaching right there.
Throughout the whole conversation, the teacher kept balancing. He'd point out an issue, paragraph length for instance, then immediately circle back to something positive, like Emma's sophisticated writing style. It never felt like a pile-on.
And that final touch, offering the chance to revise and resubmit, that shows she genuinely wants Emma to succeed. The feedback wasn't punitive, it was developmental.
Precisely. So, what can we learn from this? Whether you're giving feedback at work, to a friend, or in any context, really, this structure works. Start with genuine praise, ask permission to share concerns, be specific about what needs improvement, offer actionable solutions, and end on an encouraging note.
And always remember, the goal of feedback is growth, not just critique. If the person walks away feeling demoralized rather than motivated, you've missed the mark.
Well said. All right, let's shift gears a bit, shall we?
Yes. So our next conversation explores a completely different theme, one that's perhaps a bit more personal, but equally relevant to many of our listeners.
We're talking about maintaining friendships in adulthood. Or as I like to call it, why is it so bloody difficult to make plans with people after you turn 30?
That's truly accurate, isn't it? But seriously, this is something that affects so many individuals. When you're younger, friendships just sort of happen naturally. You're at school or university, everyone's around, it's easy.
But once you hit adulthood, with careers, families, relocations, and just the general chaos of life, sustaining those connections takes real effort. And making new friends, that's a whole other challenge.
Exactly. And there's this weird taboo around admitting you're lonely or that you're struggling to maintain friendships as an adult. People feel embarrassed about it, but it's incredibly common.
So we've got a conversation coming up between two friends who are navigating exactly this. They're catching up after not seeing each other for a while, and they're quite honest about the difficulties of staying connected.
Before we get to that, though, let's go over some essential vocabulary that'll help you understand the nuances of what they're discussing.
First up, bond. Now you might know this word in other contexts. Chemical bonds, James Bond, bail bonds. But in terms of relationships, a bond is that emotional connection or tie between people.
Right. When you bond with someone, you're forming a meaningful connection. And a strong bond implies a deep, lasting relationship. You might say, we bonded over our shared love of hiking, or they've maintained a close bond despite living in different countries.
It's quite a powerful word, actually. It suggests something more substantial than just liking someone. It's about genuine attachment and trust.
Next, we've got to rely on someone. This means to depend on someone for support, help, or consistency. When you rely on someone, you trust them to be there when you need them.
It's a key component of close friendships, isn't it? You might say, I know I can rely on her to give me honest advice. Or, he's someone I've always been able to rely on in tough times.
And there's vulnerability in that, which is why it matters. Relying on someone means trusting them with your needs, whether that's emotional support, practical help, or just showing up when they say they will.
Absolutely. And finally, acquaintance. This is someone you know, but not particularly well. They're not a close friend. They're more of a casual contact.
Right. You might have loads of acquaintances, people you recognize at the gym, colleagues you chat with occasionally, neighbors you wave to. But you wouldn't necessarily confide in them or spend meaningful time with them.
The interesting thing about acquaintances is that sometimes they can develop into proper friendships, but often they remain at that surface level. You might say, he's more of an acquaintance than a friend, or I have plenty of acquaintances but only a handful of close friends.
And I think that distinction becomes really important as we get older. You realize that having hundreds of acquaintances doesn't necessarily combat loneliness. What you really crave are those deeper bonds with people you can genuinely rely on.
Spot on. So keep those 3 terms in mind: bond, to rely on someone, and acquaintance, as we listen to this next conversation. All right, here we go.
James, oh my God, how long has it been? 6 months? A year?
Sarah, hi. I think it's been almost a year, actually. Maybe since Tom's birthday party last October?
That sounds about right. God, that's depressing. We used to see each other every week.
I know. Life just gets in the way, doesn't it? How have you been?
Honestly, a bit all over the place. Work's been absolutely mental. We're going through this massive restructuring, so everyone's on edge. And then trying to juggle that with family stuff, it's been a lot. What about you?
Yeah, similar story, really. The new job's great, but the commute is killing me. By the time I get home, I'm just knackered. Weekends fly by, and before I know it, it's Monday again.
That's the thing, isn't it? When we were younger, we'd spontaneously meet up for drinks on a Tuesday. Now I need 3 weeks' notice just to coordinate diaries.
So true. And even when you do make plans, half the time someone has to cancel because something's come up. I've become that person, unfortunately.
We all have. I don't think anyone's immune to it once you hit your 30s. It's strange, though, because I have loads of people I'd consider acquaintances, people I chat to at work or see at the gym, but actual close friends I can properly rely on, that number has shrunk considerably.
I was literally thinking about this the other day. You accumulate all these connections, but how many of them are genuine? Like, if something serious happened, who would you actually call?
Exactly. And it's not that I don't value those casual friendships, I do. But there's definitely a difference between someone you grab coffee with occasionally and someone you've got a real bond with.
Absolutely. And maintaining those deeper bonds takes effort that's honestly quite hard to muster when you're exhausted all the time. It sounds terrible, but sometimes I just want to collapse on the sofa rather than go out and be sociable.
No, I totally get that. There's this pressure to always be on, isn't there? And then you feel guilty for not making more of an effort with the people you care about.
Precisely. My mom keeps asking, why don't I see my university friends anymore? And I'm like, Mom, they live all over the country now. We've got jobs, partners, responsibilities. It's not like we've fallen out. We're just living completely different lives.
That's another layer to it, isn't it? Geographic distance. Even if you want to maintain those friendships, practicality gets in the way. I've got friends I consider really close, but we might only see each other twice a year because they've moved abroad or to different cities.
And then when you do finally meet up, there's this weird pressure for it to be amazing because you've waited so long. You can't just have a normal mundane hangout. It has to be this big catch-up session.
Oh, God, yes. And you end up spending the whole time giving each other life updates rather than actually enjoying the moment. So what's new with you becomes this exhausting download of the past 6 months.
Right, whereas the best friendships are the ones where you can just pick up where you left off, aren't they? No judgment about the gap, no pressure to perform.
That's what I appreciate about our friendship, actually. Even though we don't see each other often, I know I can rely on you if I need to. Like, if I called you at 3 a.m. with a crisis, you'd answer.
Of course I would. And same goes for you. That foundation is still there, even if the day-to-day contact isn't. I think that's what defines a real bond. It survives the neglect, if that makes sense.
It does, although maybe we shouldn't test that theory too much. We should actually make an effort to see each other more regularly.
Agreed. How about we set something up now? Put it in the calendar before life gets in the way again.
Yes, let's do dinner next month, and I'm going to hold you to it this time. No canceling unless it's a genuine emergency.
Deal. You know what? This has been really nice. Just talking honestly about how rubbish we all are at staying in touch.
Right? It's refreshing. I think we all need to cut ourselves a bit of slack. Adult friendships are hard work, and that's okay.
Couldn't agree more. All right, let me check my calendar.
God, that was so relatable, wasn't it? I felt like I was eavesdropping on a conversation I've had about 50 times myself.
Right. The honesty there was refreshing. Neither of them was pretending they've got it all figured out. They're just acknowledging that maintaining friendships as an adult is genuinely challenging.
What I loved was how they distinguished between acquaintances and people they genuinely have a bond with. That's such an important realization. You can have a packed social calendar and still feel lonely if those connections aren't deep.
Exactly. And Sarah's point about being able to rely on James even if they don't speak regularly, that really captures what true friendship looks like. It's not about constant contact. It's about knowing someone's there when it matters.
The guilt theme really resonated with me too. We beat ourselves up for not being better at keeping in touch, but actually everyone's struggling with the same thing. Maybe we need to normalize the fact that adult friendships look different.
Absolutely. They require intentionality now. You can't just rely on proximity or routine like when you were at school. You've got to actively prioritize them, which takes energy a lot of us simply don't have after a long day.
But the fact that they committed to meeting up at the end, that's the key. Recognition without action doesn't change anything. You've got to actually put it in the diary and follow through.
Well said. So, whether you're giving feedback at work or nurturing friendships, both of today's topics, it all comes down to clear communication, honesty, and genuine effort.
Couldn't have summarized it better myself. Right then, that's about all we've got time for today.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us. We really hope you picked up some useful vocabulary and insights from both conversations.
And remember, the best way to improve your English is to actively use it. Try describing what you see around you. Practice giving constructive feedback to yourself when you make mistakes. And don't be afraid to have honest conversations about difficult topics.
Before you go, if you enjoyed this episode, please do hit that like button. It genuinely helps us reach more learners like yourself.
And subscribe if you haven't already. We release new episodes regularly, covering everything from everyday conversations to more specialized topics. You won't want to miss out.
Drop us a comment as well. Let us know what you'd like us to tackle next. Share your own experiences with giving feedback or maintaining friendships, or just say hello. We love hearing from you lot.
We really do read every single comment, and your suggestions shape future episodes, so you're directly influencing what we create.
All right, everyone. Until next time, keep practicing, stay curious, and don't be too hard on yourselves. Learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint.
Take care, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye, everyone.